Good morning. Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup with me, Niraj Shah. It's an interesting day of trade because we are coming off the back of a very strong US market performance. But did you know that 4 out of the top 10 fastest developing cities on earth are in India? This is from an Abacus note, and they of course cited a global study. Pretty interesting that we may be a developing nation, and yes, we've been developing for far too long, but I think it's good to know that some of these things are happening. And when you're in Mumbai, you can see some pieces of that with the kind of highways, infrastructure, and metros that are coming up. Nevertheless, let's take stock of the global news flow. S&P 500 hits its record 46th close of the year, 46th record close of the year. This in itself is some kind of a record, by the way. Fed's Neil Kashkari sees further modest cuts in the coming quarters. Nobody knows this, quite to be honest, but important to highlight this. Oil has extended losses on reports that Israel won't target Iranian crude targets. And China has moved to tax the ultra-rich for overseas investment gains. I tell you, it's a problem for people who are ultra-rich in China for sure. But be that as it may, I don't want to scoff at them. I hope that God give them a lot of success, of course. This is what the US markets did. The Dow Jones ended about 0.4% higher, futures about 0.14% in the green. So not a bad day for the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ. Asia, mixed bag, if you will. I mean, China at least mixed bag, but Nikkei and some of the others are doing okay. I reckon that our implied open, I haven't quite looked at it, but should be indicating a green star. No, it's actually very, very flat. So, well, not enough really. Very flattish kind of a performance expected at the open if the implied open is to be believed. Okay, let's take stock of the trade setup therefore. I mean, the index yesterday closing in the upper quartile of the trading day, to my mind, is a positive for sure. I know the CPI numbers have come in higher, but I really doubt that that will have a major dampening impact on the markets. Maybe Reliance could. Reliance numbers were somber, and therefore you could expect that maybe Reliance could kind of disrupt the party, if you will. But tech could seize a partial boost, and that should help. And a clutch of numbers today, including HDFC Life and AMC amongst the larger ones, so certainly to be watched out for. It's of course, new kid on the block. You can't call it a kid, it's a mega IPO. The Hyundai India IPO will open today. And viewers, just to take a moment here. Great company, has done fantastically well in India, but it's a large IPO. And therefore, people who are constructive out here too are saying don't expect runaway gains. And remember that you need to compare the valuations of Hyundai at the issue price versus a Maruti. There is a HSBC note today which is saying that they prefer to buy, or not between the two, but they are constructive on Maruti because they believe the valuations are undemanding. So there is Maruti, there is Hyundai, there is Mahindra and Mahindra, which has come up smelling like roses in the recent past. Lot of options there, so keep that in mind. But mega IPO companies which done great and therefore to be watched out for. Stocks to watch today, Reliance Industries, a bit of a dampener on the revenue in the EBIT front, even though the profit number looked okay though. So EBITDA margins, 14 basis points higher at 16.86. The estimates were 17.2. The net profit number looked okay though. PAT at 10.76% at 19.323. The estimates were 18.813. So on the bottom line front, looking okay. Now brokerages are divided here. Nuvama has maintained a buy. And they believe the new energy business will add substantially to growth. Citi, on the other hand, has maintained a neutral, and they have lowered the target price to 2,990 from 3,200 earlier. So it's mixed views. I've seen a clutch of other brokerage houses as well. Taking Citi, the first one that came in my inbox, subdued earnings, capex and FCF free cash flow disappoint them. They see continued weakness in O2C and retail as per the last few quarters. And they believe retail revenue down, their analysis suggests that the retail revenue, which is down 3.5%, is the first negative YOY print since COVID times. So they found a few issues with Reliance numbers, and that's why they've lowered their EBITDA estimates by 4 to 5%. Like I said, brokerages are split, but the Citi note highlights a few key points which are concerning. I would suspect that the stock would have a iffy start, so watch out for this one. What will not have an iffy start is HCL Technologies, despite the fact that it's had a good move thus far, but the revenues were up 2.86% at 28,862. The estimates were 28,637. So a beat there, a beat on the EBIT margins as well, 148 basis points higher at 18.57. The estimate was 17.8, and the net profit down 0.5%, but the number at 4237 much higher than the estimate number of 4061. So really strong show by HCL Tech, and they have upgraded the FY22 revenue guidance, the lower end of the guidance, to 3.5 to 5. The earlier was 3 to 5. So therefore, this too is construed to be positive. Brokerages are saying that they might be willing to assign a higher multiple as well to HCL Tech on the back of this. So good numbers, I would suspect that the stock should react positively. Gopal Snacks was a ho-hum quarter. Revenues were up 13%, but margins came off a little bit, as a result of which the bottom line number very subdued, 11.6 versus 12.7, 5% or 6% growth in bottom line. Up 3.5% yesterday, a good company, but I suspect that might be under a bit of a cloud today. So watch out for this one in trade today as well. What else? Let's move on to the other stocks very quickly. Angel One, for all the restrictions, and rightfully so, from the brokerage, from the regulator around what brokers can or cannot do. The numbers looked okay, 44% uptick in revenues, and the bottom line number 2 looking very robust, 423 versus 407. Has done well, may react positively. Watch out for this one. What else? Suntech Realty, pre-sales up 32% and collections up 28%, if I'm not wrong, 25% at 267 crores. Steady quarter. Let's see if this one has a positive reaction or no. So these were amongst the results and the updates that came in. Let's move on to some other stocks very quickly. Some specific stocks to keep in mind. Diamond Power and Infra to consider stock split and fundraise on October 18th. Let's move on to the next one very quickly. Leica Labs has received a permission to manufacture and market pregabalin gel in India. May react positively, who knows. And Honeywell Automation will provide the airfield ground lighting for the Noida airport. Let's see, expensive stock, but may react positively to this news. So watch out for this one as well. Transformers and Rectifiers, the promoter has sold 27 lakh shares, but has been bought by the New York State Teachers Retirement System, which has bought about 13 lakh shares. Maybe this construed positively. 6 circuits on a row, in a row. Let's see if there is more. So these are a few names, in addition to the brokerage names like UBS, which have come out. Keep an eye out for all of these. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup.